Hello everyone, my name is Garvin and I read things and rattle on about them on the internet for your entertainment. In this video, we're going to look at the Naga, beings from Hindu and Buddhist beliefs that you could consider somewhat mermaid adjacent in some ways. Now, unfortunately, due to events beyond my control, I was rendered heavily dependent on online sources, so this isn't going to be the most in-depth look at the Naga. Instead, consider this a introductory look at them while I look for more comprehensive sources that I can verify. So this is going to be something I return back to in the future. Now, if you have a source, especially a printed source you'd like to recommend, please feel free to do so in the comments below, and please take my thanks in advance. Now, no surprise, but this topic was chosen by my ever-wise patrons, whose ranks you can join for as little as $1 a month by clicking on the link in the description below. You can have the power to decide what videos are made by this channel. If you'd rather leave a one-time donation, there's also a link to my Ko-fi site, and if you do leave a one-time donation, please feel free to leave a request for future videos if you have something in mind. With all that said, let's dive in. According to legend, the father of the Naga race was the sage Kashyapa, one of the Saptarshi, the 7 holy sages of the Rig Veda. This is not the first time this group has shown up, as they were in the first Divine Merfolk video a couple months back. They were among those rescued from the flood by the first avatar of Vishnu, who was a merman or a giant fish, depending on which source I use and the situation. The mother of the Naga was one of Kashyapa's many wives, Kadru, who, depending on the source, she is one of 8 or 13, or according to one scholar, 21 wives, which honestly seems like too many wives to me to even keep track of. But the only other wife that shows up in this story is Kadru's sister, Vinata. I'm also of the opinion you're asking for trouble if you marry sisters, but that is a tradition in many parts of the world, so mileage may vary. In this case, though, I think Kadru and Vinata are powerful arguments for my stance, because, just to start with, they're competing to give their husband the most powerful children. So, when Kashyapa offers both of them a wish, Kadru declares, "Well, I want to bear you 1,000 sons, all of them brave and powerful." Vinata hears this and goes, "Well, I'll just have 2 sons as long as they're both more powerful and braver than any of the children of Kadru." Ooh, sibling rivalry. You see what I mean here, right, guys? Well, Kashyapa has Kadru lay 1,000 eggs, which are incubated in jars of hot water and take 500 years to hatch, but no one seems to consider this even inconvenient. So, I guess if you have that lifespan, incubating your kids in hot water jars, especially if you got 1,000 of them, is better than being pregnant for 500 years. I don't know what else to say on this one, guys. This is what the sources say. Let's talk about these brave sons. The Nagas are serpents, but they can also transform into human or into a half-human, half-snake form. Many Nagas are depicted as having multiple heads when they're in their full snake form, but not all of them. They are also considered at least semi-divine and have magical powers beyond shape-shifting, and they appear in a number of stories as direct servants of the gods. The snake they most often look like is a cobra, and the cobra hood is used as a mark that a person is a Naga, even if they're in a full human form in Hindu art. The Naga are often considered the guardians of bodies of water, such as rivers, lakes, or even wells. And the gods also often appoint them to guard various treasures. They were granted their own separate realm away from humans in Patala. Patala is a subterranean realm in Hindu belief, which, as an aside, marks another appearance of a vast underground world. It's something we keep running into in this channel as we cover various belief systems and mythologies, so I do like to make note of it. The Naga live on the 7th level, which is the lowest one, but it's described as a beautiful place full of paradisical groves and, spectacular lakes with beautiful jewels and palaces everywhere. So it's basically like a fairy realm. I'm not trying to be dismissive when I say that. It's just underground paradise fairy realms keep coming up too. Not even necessarily underground. We've run into them underwater and in the air in this channel, so they keep coming up. The Naga can be dangerous enemies to humanity, but they're not necessarily malevolent. It's just they have their own interest, and they're willing to defend them violently against human encroachment. That said, the Naga aren't without powerful enemies of their own, and the origin of those enemies go back to their mother and their aunt. So remember, Naga asked for just 2 sons who would be more powerful than her sister's kids, because that's what you do when you're trying to one-up one of your siblings. She got 2 eggs that had to be incubated for much longer than the Naga, and she understandably found herself frustrated when watching Kadru play with her many kids, and she wanted to experience motherhood. So she broke one of the eggs in secret and outstepped Aruna, who would become the chariot driver of the sun. Aruna, however, was upset because he wasn't done growing yet, so he scolded his mother for being foolish and cursed her to become Kadru's slave. I can't help but feel that's an overreaction. It seems like everyone overreacts in these stories. Maybe that's just me. Aruna, realizing he had just cursed his own mother to slavery, softens and then promises in another 500 years, when his little brother is born, that his little brother will liberate his mother from slavery, and then he sees himself out. And I'm wondering, hey, Aruna, is there a reason why you couldn't liberate your mother from slavery? I mean, it is your curse. Well, moving on. It's not too much longer after that Kadru just idly asks Vinyata, hey, what's the color of the divine horse? And Vinyata, having seen this horse, goes, well, it's pure white. And it was. Kadru goes, no, you're wrong, it has a black tail, you're such a silly goose. And Vinyata doesn't take well to that, so they make a bet with the loser having to become the winner's slave. And you think Vinyata, remembering the curse, would go, I'm not making that bet, but she jumps right in with both feet. Kadru then turns around to her Naga kids and orders them to wrap themselves around the divine horse's tail in order to make it black. And this is just me talking here. I don't think that should count for a second. This is just silly. Anyone judging this would go, that is not the horse's actual tail. That is a bunch of snakes wrapped around it. That doesn't count for what color it is. But apparently I'm in the minority because it counts, and that's enough to make Vinyata a slave for centuries. Until her boy Gruda catches. When Vinyata asked for greatness, she got it. Gruda is the divine king of birds and is often presented in Hindu art as a birdman hybrid or just a straight up giant eagle on the same scale as your average kaiju. He's also the self-declared enemy of serpents. I don't know if Naga could sweat, but they should be sweating over that. Gruda hatched, looked around for his mother, and didn't find her, and then found out she had been enslaved. And right away, it's not even the end of his first day, and he's already not amused with life. But he recognized that Kadru was his aunt, and the Naga were his half-brothers, so he decided he would not choose violence right away. So he goes to the Naga and asks them in the spirit of brotherhood to free his mother. I'm going to be honest, I would have done it right then and there, but I think slavery is pretty damn disgusting. I also have a policy of not picking fights with eagles the size of Godzilla. That's just me. The Naga are more morally ambiguous on slavery, and they're not scared of eagles. Yet. So they tell Gruda, yeah, we'll free your mom in exchange for Amrita, which is a divine drink that confers immortality. Gruda, who has only been alive for like a week, goes, yeah, fine, I'll be right back, and heads to heaven without even thinking about it, and just straight up asks the gods, hey, give me your immortal drink so I can free my mom from slavery. The Hindu gods tell him to go pound sand. Gruda looks at this group of beings who are the masters of the universe and goes, now I choose violence, and proceeds to kick the crap out of the gods. This bird has been alive for weeks? Months at most? And he's already wrecking the Hindu pantheon? You see what I mean when I say Vinyata asked for greatness and she got it. But I think the moral of the story is don't make the Godzilla-sized god bird angry. I'm going to stand by that one. Well, this is where Vishnu steps in and suggests, hey, let's talk this out. Gruda, how about you come work for me as my ride, and we'll hammer something out. And Gruda does like the idea of being the majestic mount of one of the greatest gods in the universe. And he's thinking it over when Indra, another god, explains that making the magical shape-shifting cobra people immortal is gonna be a problem. Because of Vishnu, instead of turning to Indra and telling him, well, that's going to be your problem, Gruda says he's open to suggestions as long as, he gets his mom out of slavery. And that's where him and the gods hatch a plot. The gods send Gruda back with a jar of Amrita, and he tells the Naga that before they drink this literally divine drink, they should probably purify themselves, otherwise bad things could happen. And the Naga think this is probably a wise warning, so they take off to do the purification rituals, and that's when Indra's son, Janyanta, steals the Amrita back. And when the Naga realize this, they come running back to stop him, but Gruda starts killing and eating the Naga until they hand over his mother. See what I mean about not being afraid of eagles yet? The Naga who escape realized that Janyanta had spilled some Amrita on the ground, so they basically dive on it and roll around in it, and they get the ability to shed their skins and renew themselves. Which means Naga live ridiculously long lives compared to humans, but still have to die eventually. Now, beyond this, there are a legion of stories about the Naga, but I want to get better sources before I start diving into them, so we're going to cover just one more story. That of Krishna, the 8th avatar of Vishnu, and Kaliya, the Naga with the worst luck you could imagine. Kaliya is a very venomous Naga who decided to move into the river Yamana located in modern-day Uttar Pradesh. He moved there out of fear of Gruda, who had been cursed by a sage that if he ever went to Uttar Pradesh, he would die. So he avoided the place. Kali decided to live there because he knew that was the one place Gruda would not be, which gives you an idea of how well the Naga and Gruda were getting along at this time. The problem here for everyone else is Kalia is so venomous, the water for 4 leagues around him becomes poisonous, making problems for the locals who can't figure out what's going on with their river. This continues until one day he's spotted by Krishna's wife, Radha, who is terrified of him because he's in the form of a giant cobra, so kind of understandable, and she goes running to her husband. Krishna hears about this and decides the thing to do is to just go down to the river and have a little talk with the giant cobra about scaring people's wives and why that's not okay. Kalia's response to this is to try and crush Krishna to death. This does not go well for Kalia, but he does manage to escape Krishna, with Krishna just getting a good stomp on the tail to Kalia and telling him to behave himself or else. Well, the very next day, everyone's playing ball, and the ball gets thrown into the river, and Krishna goes into the water after it. And Kalia decides this is the perfect chance for round 2. Honestly, he might have been better off fighting the giant god bird, because while Kalia tries to constrict Krishna, he can't hold him, and Krishna just kind of bursts out and starts jumping on Kalia's head Super Mario style, thinking that he's just going to stomp the venom out of this snake so he'll stop polluting the river. At this point, Kalia is so beat up that he's vomiting blood. Never a good sign, right? And Kalia's wives start appearing out of the water to beg Krishna for mercy. Kalia, for his part, promises to be a super good Naga if Krishna will please just stop murdering him. Krishna decides to give Kalia a second chance and sends him off to Patala, where Krishna promises he'll be safe from a certain giant god bird. And I have a feeling Kalia was grateful just to be safe from Krishna at this point. So this was our introductory video to the Naga. I think we covered the basics here, and I hope you enjoyed the tale of Krishna and Kalia. I do hope to return with more information on the Naga and more stories once I have sources I can verify. Until then, I think we'll stop here for this week. I hope you found this video informative, or at least entertaining. If you did, please leave a like, a comment, or even subscribe. All these help me in my eternal struggle against the dread Lord Algorithm. Dare be on his name. I also like to give a special thanks to Big Steve, my biggest Patreon supporter. I hope you enjoyed this as well, man. Next week, we're going to have a little change of pace. You see, a couple videos ago, I promised that if that video got 15 likes, I would create Dungeons and Dragons stats for one of the monsters in the stories. Red-skinned, two-headed, eight-legged lions. I also said if we got 20 likes, I would stat out the giant fire-breathing turkeys, because why not? As of this recording, we are at 22 likes for that video. So, you're getting the Dungeons and Dragons stat video. I am a man of my word. I hope you join me for that, but until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, keep reading.